How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Riley's Redzone and another weekly edition of NFL Picks in the 2024 season. We're on week 11. Not only are we in double digits, we're past that already. It's just unbelievable how quick this is going. But if you're new to the channel, every single week I do picks on who I think will win each NFL games. We pick straight up who we think wins the game. We'll mention spreads for who's the favorite, but bottom line, who wins. And since week 2, I've had a guest picker on every single week, and we'll have another one this week as well. So quick recap. Last week was an okay week for me. Went 9-5, bringing me to 94-60 on the year. So that was a good, just kind of average week for me of what it's been. But Danny put on a show, going 12-2 as the guest picker. That puts him in the top of the leaderboard, which will have hopefully everyone come back for the final week of the season. But what a head start to there, and it's going to take quite a lot to beat that. And up to the challenge this week is going to be Alex, who's going to give his takes on who he believes will win this week. So with all that being said, we're going to jump into what this week is and just enjoy another week of picking who we think wins the game. So starting off with the Thursday night matchup today, we have the Commanders and the Eagles. The Commanders, just a heartbreaker loss to the Steelers last week. Tough that Johnny Newton jumped off sides, but still they put a huge, great performance together, and they could have won the ball game. And so the Eagles, on the other hand, are a wagon. They're finally picking up what I thought they could be preseason. They started a little slow, and now they're really starting to get it going. Of course, everyone's going to talk about Saquon and all that's going there. Give me the home team in this one. I'll take Philadelphia. They are the favorite here. Washington's a heck of a team, but I think that Philadelphia is also a great team also. So Alex additionally goes with Philadelphia, so that is a sweep there in the picks. But already, then we have some divisiveness between the Raiders and the Dolphins. The Raiders, I just don't know what to expect from them on a week-to-week basis. It really is a question mark of what they're doing, and really at that quarterback spot, what are they doing? Meanwhile, the Dolphins, able to squeak by a win against the Rams. I can't believe they're in second place in their division right now at about 3-6. I mean, that is ridiculous. But they are, I guess, in that contention. And Tua has looked all right since coming back. Obviously, don't want to get him hurt in the head. And I'm going to go with the Dolphins here as the favorites, but this feels like a really sneaky game. Alex is going with the dog in the Raiders, and I can certainly see a world where that happens, as this, I think, will be a tricky game to watch, as I don't feel great about either team, but give me the Dolphins at home there. Another one where we're split is the Browns and the Saints. Danny and I both predicted the Saints would get the victory last week against the Falcons, and with Rizzy as the interim head coach, and there he did, as we just see that so often. Will he be able to keep it going this week? I think former Saints quarterback Jameis Winston will put on a show for the Cleveland Browns. They were on bye last week. I don't think the Browns are going to be in playoff contention, even with the fun level of play that you get with Jameis Winston, but they're at least watchable now. I think they get a victory here against the Saints, but definitely the Saints looked better with a different coach there at the helm, and Alex is going to go that direction. So we're split on that game, but I'll take the underdog in the dog pound of the Cleveland Browns. Colts and the Jets. The Jets are that X that you just keep coming back to here, as the Lions almost every single week give the favorite to the New York Jets. And I keep biting for it almost all the time, because I pick against them, and what do? They win against the Texans. I pick for them against the Cardinals, even though I thought the Cardinals are good, and they end up losing. Well, I'm going to fall for it again here. It's at home. The Jets against the Colts. The Colts going back to Anthony Richardson. And I think that it's an okay move for Indianapolis to do that, because I thought that Flacco was the better quarterback right now, but clearly they're not winning with that either. So I can understand you just want to work towards the future at that point. I think, though, this is just a random game that the Jets win. Who cares, really, on both of these teams? The Colts could actually be in playoff contention, though. That's the crazy thing. At like 500, they could be in there right now. But the Jets, to me, their season appears wasted, and that's just when Rodgers turns it on in the season. So give me the New York Jets. Alex does so as well. That's a sweep. Vikings, Titans. The Vikings did not look good, plainly, against the Jaguars last week. That was one of the worst games we've seen Sam Darnold play, but of course their defense bails them out. The Titans can't get it done against the Chargers. I'm going to be honest, this is one where everything kind of is trapping it up to be a Titans win. But I think the Vikings are a better enough team to where I'm going to go with Minnesota. There's too much of a separation in the rankings for me, and I'm already taking another couple of upsets that you'll find out about that I just can't roll the dice that much. But boy, does this feel like a game the Titans could swipe away at home. But I'll take the Vikings, and so does Alex. Bears, Packers. This is one of those I mentioned. I'm going to roll the dice again on change equals a good thing, which is Thomas Brown becoming the play caller for the Chicago Bears after they get rid of all that was their previous Shane Waldron experience on offense. And they're still not going to be great. It sounded like, Caleb Williams, we'll see what he does. There's a lot of random reports, which I'm going to be honest, I don't know how many of them are true with kind of the divisiveness that's going on. I'd have to assume Eberflus is on the hot seat no matter what, but they've looked okay at times this season. The Packers have looked really solid most of the time, but for whatever reason, at home and a little bit of change, give me Chicago to bounce back here. If they don't, you really got to start hitting the panic button there on what you're doing if you're Chicago. But give me the Bears. Alex will take the Packers, which maybe is logical. Jaguars, Lions. Trevor Lawrence now looks like it was ruled out. He was questionable going into last week, and then they ruled him out. Without him and with him, they have not looked good this season. They've looked really poor without him. I think that with that said, I'm going to go with the Lions for sure here. I think they're a top 2 team in football at the moment, and for that reason, I think we have to take them. So does Alex there for the sweep. And then we'll jump to Rams-Patriots. That's really all that needs to be said. Rams-Patriots... Patriots get that big win against the Bears. I'm quite shocked, honestly, that occurred. Drake May, though, looking legit. But the Rams are just there, that they're competitive. They're going to win these games, and they're going to stay in the hunt, even though at times their roster has not looked as strong as previous seasons. I like what they're doing. I'll take the Rams in this one over the Patriots more so. I don't know if I can put a lot of trust yet in the Patriots, but they are certainly developing. The Ravens and the Steelers. This, to me, is the best game of the week, maybe, besides the Chiefs and the Bills. I think you could make a case it's even the best, though. I mean, we got this AFC North clash divisional game. These two rivals always having, a great matchup against each other. The Ravens are a top 3 team in football for me at the moment. The Steelers just keep squeaking by. It's like, can they really keep doing this? But I think they're starting to show that they might at least be an okay football team. So with Russ at the helm, I bumped him up a lot this week in the power rankings. Give me the underdog. Pittsburgh Steelers at home. So does Alex, and I was shocked to see that as well. We're both taking the underdog, even though the Ravens are probably a better football team. I think the Ravens would get the advantage if they were to match up again. But for this week, give me Pittsburgh. And what they seem to always have these random starts that they are incredible to begin the season, and then maybe they tail off a little bit. But they've looked pretty solid over this last little while. Seahawks and Niners. The Niners getting CMC back was big. I think that they're not as good as some of the teams that they've had over the last few years, but they're certainly in it. The Seahawks are just there. I've talked about it all year. Their roster kind of is a high floor, low ceiling type of team, and that's exactly what we've seen. I think they're in the mix for a wild card at best. I'm going to take the Niners here. So does Alex. I think the Seahawks are in the mix, if you will, but not anything special. I think the Niners with CMC at least gives them a little bit of a boost. Falcons, Broncos, 2 teams that I think are on the bottom end of wild card position, except the Falcons may run away with their division. I think these are teams that are sneaky, that they should probably be playoff caliber. Can they get a win in the playoffs? That's the type of question we're looking at. As the Broncos are just about, how many times are the Chiefs just going to be so close to losing and they don't? This is one of the closest for sure. I mean, we just got a field goal attempt and it gets blocked. I mean, my goodness, the Broncos have actually shown that they can look all right. Their defense has been stingy and Bo Nix has looked solid offensively. So they have a lot of potential there. The Falcons have kind of floundered a little bit at times, but Kirk is still looking really solid. That was a winnable game for them last week. So they're a good team. Being at home is what's a difference maker for me here. So I'm going to go with Denver, but I like Alex's choice of Atlanta in that matchup as the underdog. I'm not super confident in that pick. I think both teams are in similar categories, but I'll take the Denver Broncos because they're at home. The Chiefs and the Bills, of course, is maybe, the highlight game of the week. Is Chiefs has not lost yet, but the Bills are going to be one of the best teams that they faced off against so far. And I think the Bills are looking legit. This is one where it's going to be a tight game. And as I've mentioned over and over again, the Chiefs are going to drop one eventually, but it doesn't really matter. No, they're going to be the favorite for the Super Bowl. So let's roll the dice. I'm taking the Bills, and so does Alex, which is also the favorite. I'm not exactly shocked by that, but that's certainly interesting to consider a team as undefeated through this point in the year, and yet they're underdogs. But that's just how it goes because the Bills are a pretty good football team. So I'll take Buffalo in that one as well. Bengals, Chargers. These are two teams that have been opposite to me. The Bengals have looked good on offense quite often, but their defense is terrible. And they've been really close to beating good teams, but just can't get it done. The Chargers are doing really well against not very great teams. I certainly think they're going the right direction. Herbert is starting to really wake up. That's great to see. I think that with Harbaugh, they're certainly pushing for a playoff run here. Of these two options, I know this is another one that I've been kind of bit by before, but I'll take the Bengals to actually seal the deal this week. So I'll take Cincinnati, underdogs on the road against the Chargers, which is maybe a dicey choice. Alex is going to go with the Chargers, which makes sense in that situation. And lastly, Texans, Cowboys. Cowboys without Dak already were questionable, and last week we had the whole sun situation in the stadium. But I don't know whether you stick with Cooper Rush or you give Trey Lance a shot, but in my opinion, if the season's kind of going, I'd go with Lance. I know now that they've kind of committed to Dak, and Lance may not be your future, but maybe you can develop him for somebody else to trade for him. I'd be going that direction. The Texans, I thought I called that so hard. I thought I had that upset pick against the Lions last week. They were so close, but they couldn't do it. But I'm telling you what, if they were already mad they lost to the Jets, and then they lost that game in the fashion they did by this much on a field goal, I think that they're going to be angry. I think this is a blowout happening on Monday night where the Texans will be victorious. So that's what the picks look like for this week. And now we're going to quick do a fantasy league recap. A lot of movement so far transaction-wise as well, because the trade deadline is this week and people are actually locking into this game. The manager last week who, I guess now on my phone it said most efficient manager. Now it's saying best manager again on my laptop. There's been a debate in the league the whole year because they're like, we're giving best manager to a guy like in this situation who scored 88 points because that's all he had. His bench is terrible. That's not a best manager, but I guess it is efficient because he didn't miss out on any bench points. The craziness here is Nick had the worst manager with, or least efficient. I think that's a better term for it. He had 116 points, but he could have scored 154. And then Charlie winning by nearly 100 points, 174.92, highest scorer again. He only has one loss on the season. He's already in the group chat saying, hey, what do we get for winning this league? Because he thinks he hasn't wrapped up. We'll see if he can do that. And I had quite a narrow victory by 0.6 points against Danny. He bested me in the picks, but I bested him in fantasy by this much. Shout out Jonnu Smith, a late game Sunday pickup because Nico Collins was out on my team. So that brings us to the matchups this week where we have myself versus Nick. We have Danny versus Cody. We have Andrew versus Carson. We have Matthew versus Charlie. We have Braden versus Alex, and Max versus Zach. And you know that looking at, I think the Max versus Zach is about the only ones of positive records almost for the most part, because this league has been so divisive. Charlie is running away at 9-1. Max has been pretty good at 7-3. But if you look at this division on this side, Best team we got is 6-4. We're looking at 500 about for every single team on that list. And now on the other side, we got top of the top, and then we also have some strugglers down here that there will be a reward and punishment for first and last place. So we'll wait to see what that is, but that's the update for the Fantasy League. So that'll do it for this week's picks. I greatly appreciate you tuning along for this episode, and I will catch you in the next one. Enjoy the weekend of watching football.